part 3. This is our motivation chapter, final part for our human relations course. So, as we have addressed this far in this chapter 7 on human motivation, understanding human motivation is super important to know what makes us happy or unhappy at our jobs. And of course, companies and organizations implement many different strategies to keep us motivated at work because they are able to influence the context, the environment that we are in. So this final part of this chapter will discuss some of those specific strategies. We start with a quote again. Ability is what you are capable of doing. Motivation determines what you do. Attitude determines how well you do it. So to have action, to have behaviors that move us towards our goals, we need to have 1, the ability, the competency, the knowledge, the skills. 2, we need to be motivated to do it. We need to have the passion, the drive. And 3, how do you show up? What is your attitude? All of these things will influence your end result. So now we are looking at strategies that companies are influencing so that we will be motivated at work. Let's start with salary and benefits. Clearly, salary can be a motivator. Compensation as a whole, we often talk about total compensation. This is, of course, much more than just your paycheck or your wages, and it includes things such as health benefits and paid time off. So some of the considerations surrounding pay includes, number 1, having a standard process or instituting a standard process. Number 2, how do you communicate about the pay? So you want to make sure you have a pay communication strategy. And 3, what does that paid time off look like? So if you start talking about instituting a standard process, in any organization, having consistent and fair processes across the organization ensures that people perceive the organizations and the rewards to be fair. So we want to make sure that we have standard processes, especially for salary and benefits. Many companies today do actually not have set pay plans or pay scales. And so as a result, there might be inequities in how people are paid. And surely this results in unfairness in a couple of different situations. Firstly, when we onboard people, and then secondly, when we are doing pay increases in the organization. So if we look at onboarding for a quick moment, that is the process of bringing a candidate on board with the company. So this is when you're hiring a new person to come in into the organization. And so, of course, we will have a discussion and a negotiation of compensation during this onboarding process. So having a standard process implemented will help us keep that consistency for all new incoming hires. And then secondly with this is that companies should make sure that the process for receiving pay increases, right, when we do pay raises, is fair and equitable, obviously in relation to job levels and positions, etc. And so these pay raises need to be fair, they need to be defensible, because we cannot discriminate against certain groups or certain individuals. Not just not appearing to be discriminatory, but they should not be discriminatory, right? Then we have a pay communication strategy. How do we let our employees know what our pay plan is, right? So many companies work really, really hard to make sure that they have that fair pay process. And then that we are also communicating that to the employees. And so having transparency in this process of how we give raises and then communicate that can help us retain good employees. People are curious. People will find out. So if we are inconsistent in the pay we give, and if we're not transparent, that will of course cause issues. Lastly, paid time off or PTO. Companies also pay us with time. They don't only pay us with wages and salary, but they also pay for us to be away from the company. Things such as paid holidays and vacation. And so that is an indirect form of pay. So we look at total compensation, and actually the latter slides here also talks about pay for performance and bonuses, etc. So salary and benefits is one part of the total compensation, and then we have other things like pay for performance, bonuses, etc. All right. Training and development. We talked about Maslow before, about self-actualization in the motivational theory, the theory of human motivation, where self-actualization is at the top of the pyramid, which is the last of the 5 levels. And it means that we try to become, we achieve, and we aspire to achieve the most we can and to be the best person we can. And we get to that place a lot through training and development. So to meet our higher level needs, we need to experience self-growth, which is also what this class is about. And so many companies offer a lot of training and development programs, partly internally toward the organization. So they offer workshops, etc. But they might also pay for employees to attend skill seminars and programs outside of the company. Some companies also offer tuition reimbursement. And for those of you who are listening to this video who are not in the United States, I know there are some of you, right? Tuition is what we pay to go to college here in the United States. Some countries like Sweden, for instance, are tuition free. So companies in Sweden would not offer tuition reimbursement programs, but here in the United States, some companies do. And that helps us earn a college degree. So for instance, the example from your textbook is that Amazon offers leadership training, and they do that 1 month prior to the hiring date. And they also pay for 95% tuition for employees at the fulfillment centers if they want to take courses in high demand fields. So that's a couple of the training and development opportunities offered by Amazon. Companies also hopefully do performance appraisals. Honestly, performance appraisals is one of those places where organizations really could try to do a better job. It's often seen as a bureaucratic exercise. Nobody's excited to do them. Managers think they're time consuming. Employees think that they're not fair. And so they're not a great place or a great place to spend your time. However, if performance appraisals or performance management is done correctly, that is absolutely a terrific place to make sure that we can motivate our people. Because if we are able, through the review of their performance, to link their performance to the goals of the organization and the vision and mission and the future of the organization, that is so motivating for people. And so if you're a smart manager, you will take the opportunity during the performance appraisals to make sure that people are excited about being a part of the organization so that they can see the link between their day-to-day performance and the future of the organization. So performance appraisal, per definition, is a method by which a job performance is measured, right? How do we measure performance? It is a formalized process that assesses how well an employee does their job. So the effectiveness of this process can, of course, contribute to employee retention because we get constructive feedback. And that feedback tells us if we are on our way to meet those goals or if we're far away from meeting those goals. And then what can we do about it to course correct? Of course, this process can also help us ensure that our upper level self-actualization needs are met. And it can also address some of the motivational factors that was discussed by Frederick Herzberg, such as achievement, recognition, and responsibility. And if you remember from our part 2 of this chapter, those are the motivation factors, not the hygiene factors, but those are the motivation factors that we need to be motivated at work. All right, that's performance appraisals, and we're going to head into succession planning. So succession planning is the process where we identify and develop people in our organization, and these are the people that have the potential to fill higher level positions. So it's essentially the pipeline for upper level positions in the organizations. A lot of employees today actually leave companies because they're not able to see that progression for themselves. They don't see their career path or their career growth. And so companies and managers can combat this by providing very clear career paths, because that helps us visualize our path with the company. And so that makes us want to stay with the company. And so proper succession planning shows what we need to do at each level in the organization so that we can move on to the next level. And so your textbook suggests that if your current organization doesn't have this type of succession plan, maybe you want to talk to your manager, right? Maybe they have it and you don't know about it. So consider speaking with your manager about your own career path and potential and asking about that. And the performance appraisal process, right, when you do those yearly or quarterly performance appraisals, that's a good time probably to have this conversation with your manager. Good luck. Do it. Good luck. Time. Flextime, telecommuting, sabbaticals, having times away from the company. Wonderful. We all love it. Right now, many of us are working from home because we are in a COVID-19 pandemic / endemic. And so this is more common than I think when this textbook was written or published, I should say, which was in 2020. So right at the cusp there of many of us starting to work from home. So with that in mind, we can define remote work, including things such as telecommuting, meaning we work from home, we don't work in the office, and flex time, which means that if we go into the office, we have opportunities to choose when we go in and when we leave the office. And so many companies do something like you have to arrive between 8 and 11 in the morning. And if you stay 8 hours, right, if you come at 8, you leave at 4 or 5. If you come at 11, you stay a bit later. But that is what flex time is. In studies published here in this book in 2020, 2/3, 66% of managers did say that overall productivity was increased when their employees were allowed to work from home or work remotely in a Starbucks. And so for many professions, this is a viable option and it can be a great motivational tools. We obviously understand that not everyone has the opportunity to work from home. If you work in that Starbucks, you're not able to serve coffees from your bedroom. We already touched on the COVID-19 pandemic, which made this much more common. And we are now in the process of seeing companies transition back to work or trying to transition back to work. And those are new challenges because nowadays people want to stay home and work from home quite a bit. There are an example from your textbook about REI, which is the apparently a difficult hard word for me to pronounce. Recreational Equipment Incorporated out of Seattle. They offer 12 weeks of unpaid leave, so not paid leave, but unpaid leave in addition to what's already offered by the FMLA here in the United States, Family and Medical Leave Act, which is a federal act at the entire level of the United States, right? So it's federal, which says that we can have unpaid leave for 12 weeks if we have a birth of a child or an adoption of a child or some other medical issue, and it's unpaid. But REI are giving more unpaid leave, and this is for the employee to pursue things such as volunteering or traveling, so to give them extra time without having to quit. REI also gives you, after 15 years with the company, a paid sabbatical. How nice is that? You get to take 4 weeks of leave, and you can add on your already earned vacation time, and this is paid, and you get to take time off. I know that Intel Corporation has a similar sabbatical. So using some type of paid time off from work is a good motivational strategy. Management training. Well, most of us probably have been in a situation where we don't have the best boss in the world. So a lot of companies see that they have turnover from employees when they believe that their manager is not a great manager. So managers who bully, who use the theory X approach, if you remember again from part 2 of the motivation, that the McGregor theory X, theory Y. They are bad communicators, they're incompetent. These employees don't want to stick around for very long. And so if we are able to train our managers to be better managers and to be better at motivating their employees, this is a great way to handle the retention issue. So as you're seeing here in this video, and we have a couple of more slides, there are many, many different things that organizations are able to do to ensure that we keep the motivation levels higher in organizations, so that we have higher levels of happiness and satisfaction, which then will contribute to greater levels of retention, meaning people not leaving the company. Another one of those is conflict management and fairness. So how do we handle conflict contributes obviously to motivation at work. If we have task and process conflict, that's not a problem. We are all respectful. We disagree on how the task should be done. That is all great. However, if we have conflict that's personality related, we just don't like each other. Oh, wow, so detrimental to the group and to the organization. So how the organization deals with that type of conflict has great impact on retention and motivation. When we talk about fairness, we can talk about outcome fairness and procedural fairness. So outcome fairness is the judgment that people make with respect to the outcomes that they receive and whether or not they think they are fair, right? So if I receive a bonus, I will look around and see what other people are getting. And if I feel that I worked harder and got the same bonus, or I worked just as hard as them, but they got bigger bonuses, right? There is an unfairness in the outcome. So outcome fairness deals with the judgment that we think about what we get with respect to other people. So that's outcome fairness. Then we have procedural justice, which is the process we use to determine the outcomes received. So the outcome fairness deals with the outcome itself, and the procedural justice or procedural fairness deals with the process that makes that happen. And so these processes need to be consistent, right? We talk about this a lot. We will determine if procedures are applied consistently to other persons and throughout periods of time. So if we have consistency across people, we have consistency across time, we think that the process is fair. Process is considered fair to the extent that there is bias suppression. So the person who's making the decision does not have a bias or a vested interest in the outcome. The process is more fair. Is there information accuracy? So is the decision based on correct, accurate information? More fair. Number 4, correctability. The decision can be appealed and mistakes can be corrected. So if there by chance is an error or a mistake, can it get fixed? More fair. Representativeness in number 5. We feel the concerns of all the stakeholders involved, that they have been considered, right? Have everybody been represented that need to be? It doesn't mean that every person has to be there, but there has to be representation. More fair, right? And lastly, ethics, which was what our entire chapter 6. So the decision is in line with moral societal standards of what is right and what is wrong. Is the decision ethical? If so, absolutely more fair. Okay, couple of more slides. This is a longer video, I know. Thanks for hanging in there. So the extent to which we feel that we have responsibility at work, that we engage in work that is fun and enjoyable to us, that is called job design, job enlargement, and empowerment. So with job enrichment, we have more meaningful tasks, and these more meaningful tasks, they enhance our job, and that makes the job more rewarding. So job enrichment is achieved through job design. So the job design might be that I am able to take more decisions. I am able to contact the customer directly. I'm able to decide when and how the job gets done. All those things can be designed into the job, and then I will feel that my job is enriched, which makes me happier, right? Then we have something called job enlargement. And job enlargement is when we are getting to do more tasks at the same level, right? So you might be doing one task, and doing just one task is probably not super exciting. But if you can do 3 or 4 or 7 different tasks, even though they're relatively at the same levels, you might not be taking on supervisory tasks, but having those new challenges makes it more rewarding, and you feel more motivated from that. And lastly, we can talk about employee empowerment. And this is a way to involve employees in their work by allowing them to make decisions and act on those decisions with the support of the organization. So we give the employees some borders, right, some guidelines, and within that box, they get to make the decisions, and that is empowerment, which tends to increase motivation. Okay, so here is an additional piece of that total compensation package I mentioned earlier. And so these are pay for performance strategies. So pay for performance, these are rewards for meeting objectives or targets or goals that were pre-set. So for instance, in a merit-based pay system, we might be rewarded for meeting or exceeding performance during a given time period. So we structure out what needs to be done, and those are the expectations. And then if we meet or exceed those, then the reward comes. And so that would be an example of a pay for performance or a merit-based system. So rather, as you see here in the third bullet point, rather than that fixed, 3% increase every year, the increase is based on the performance. So if you have higher levels of performance, you would have a greater level of reward, greater level of pay for performance. All right, we can also see some companies offering bonuses to employees for meeting objectives, and that can be spot bonuses, and they can be ad hoc after a project or at the bonus at holiday time, or whenever the manager feels like it. Some other organizations offer team incentive pay, which means that we give some sort of reward to the entire team and not just to the individual. And this is when they achieve some specific predetermined outcome again. We also have two concepts called profit sharing and gain sharing. And this is at the organizational level. So moving from the individual level to the team level, now we are all the way up to the organizational level. So profit sharing is when the company is doing well as a whole. So the overall performance of the organization is such that the organization is turning a profit, it's showing a profit, and employees get to take part of that profit, and we call it profit sharing. Gain sharing is slightly different, but some similar points there. So gain sharing focuses on improvement of productivity. So the employees might have suggestions for how to do things more effective or more efficient. And so the organization is maybe able to cut costs, to do things, produce the widgets quicker, to cut out a few steps in a process. And so they have gains through those productivity improvements. And that gain sharing would then be shared with the employees, right? So that the gain that they reaped from that productivity improvement would be shared with the employees. And in the last bullet point, some unique ways to motivate include things like Google's cafes. We've talked about them before. Gym memberships, car care. They take care of your car while you're at work, maybe on-site yoga. I was at a university in Sweden for a year, and they had a personal trainer come in twice a week to do stretches and relaxation techniques with faculty. And that was a pretty unique way to motivate us, which was nice actually. I should have taken more advantage of it. All right, for your exercises before we summarize this little bit longer video, go ahead and research 2 different companies that you are interested in working for. Take a look at their list of benefits. What do you think? Are the ones that they are offering some that might motivate you to stay with the company? Here we see some possible strategies that companies use to motivate their employees. You can rank each one in order of importance to you, where 1 is the most important. Then you can look at which one of these would go into Maslow's hierarchy and which would go into Hertzberg's theory. And I think Hertzberg might be misspelled on this slide. And I think job satisfaction, that should probably be a job satisfaction survey. So maybe I'll just go ahead and add that at the end here. So you have salary. Oh, my pen is not wanting to cooperate, but survey is what it's saying here. So an engagement survey. Okay, salary, bonuses, benefits, opportunity to grow professionally, team bonuses, more time paid off, telecommuting, Flextime, sense of empowerment, tuition reimbursement, job satisfaction survey. What do you think? Which one would be most important to you and which one would be less? So in summary, salary and benefits are major components of what employers offer to motivate us. Consistent pay systems and transparent processes are very important. Many organizations offer paid tuition programs, reimbursement programs, and in-house training to increase skills and knowledge. Performance appraisals provide an avenue for feedback and goal setting. They also allow us to be recognized for our contributions. Succession plans allow the employees the ability to see how we can continue our career with the organization, and they clearly detail what we need to do to achieve career growth. So maybe talk to your manager about that. Flextime and telecommuting are options that some companies use. These benefits give us flexibility when we work on our schedule, and they give us control over our work, which is a very motivational aspect. Some companies also offer paid or unpaid time off, like sabbaticals. Since one of the reasons many people are dissatisfied with their job is because of their manager or the relationship that they have with their manager, many companies require management and communication training to make sure that managers are able to establish good relationships with their employees. Some companies may change the job through empowerment or job enlargement to help us grow skills. We also talked about job enrichment with job design. Other more unique ways that companies try to retain employees might include offering services to make employees' lives easier, such as dry cleaning, daycare services, or on-site yoga classes. That is a wrap, my friends, and I will see you next time. Bye. Take care.